So we have what I think is rather a nice full moon coming up on September the 29th. I'm going to show you the chart in a minute, but it seems full of potential and positivity and hope for healing in so many ways. But before I dive into everything I'm going to talk about, I would love you to subscribe to my channel, give me a thumbs up, leave me a comment. Please watch to the end. I love to hear what your thoughts, everything like that. So, but here is, I think we've seen this before. I used this one time before, and I've left this on for a specific reason, or put this back on. Now, I pulled a card for this new moon, sorry, full moon, which seems so appropriate. And the card was the Sun. And this is from the Red Seeds Tarot by Linda Hill. She's on Etsy in the UK. And I bought this especially for my Venus Retrograde class, which has finished. And it's the most amazing deck ever. It's based on the Eleusinian mysteries of Demeter and Persephone. But look at this Sun card. Beautiful, beautiful. And the words she uses to describe this in her interpretation of the cards in her books is "I am radiant." And the quote that she gives with the card is, "May the long-time sun shine upon you, all love surround you, and the pure light within you guide your way on." And the soul journey. The sun is a symbol of the self. We have encountered challenges, but now enjoy the radiance of joy and vitality. Self-validation and the recognition of our achievements is now easy to acknowledge. Our heart fills with gratitude, and we know that our hard work, dedication, and determination has brought us closer to our truth. This is a golden time offering love, willpower, determination, and benevolence. Our inner light is shining with enlightenment, integration, and wholeness. All is within our grasp. We are brilliant. Now, this just seemed, I swear I just I shuffled and I pulled the card, but it so fits this full moon. So let's dive in and show you the chart. Now, I do want to say that by the time, let me just make that chart like this. There we go. By the time of this full moon on September the 29th, 2023, which incidentally is a 9 months, an 11 day, and a 7 year, is that Mercury will be nearly out of the shadow of his retrograde. He's stationed retrograde at 21 degrees Virgo. So Mercury's almost done with this whole retrograde season. Venus still has a little bit to go before she passes the degree she's stationed retrograde at. She will pass that degree on October the 7th, but she's starting to move faster. And look at these numbers here, as Juno, Venus, and triple moon goddess Hecate all meet at 22 Leo. And that's significant because I'll tell you why in a minute. And Black Moon Lilith is at 13 Virgo, which was the position of the cazimi of Mercury and the Sun in the middle of Mercury's retrograde. So that we're going to be looking at all of that. Also, if you notice, I should have actually, let me highlight it, and so you can just see it for the recording. Uranus has retrograded also back to 22 degrees. And this is activating the square from the new Venus star point that was at 20 degrees of Leo on August the 13th. That was in a 2-degree separated square to Uranus. They've come back together. Uranus is now retrograde, Venus now direct. squaring. So I'll talk about that. But the moon itself, the moon in Aries, Aries, the pioneer, I'll talk more about that as well, opposing the sun in Libra, because a full moon is always an opposition. Conjunct the sun is Pallas Athena, the wise owl or creative intelligence asteroid, so I'll talk about that. They're forming a T-square to Vesta in Cancer. Vesta, focus, devotion, the inner flame, the sacred flame, and we'll talk more about that. But also this full moon is in a quincunx aspect to Ceres in Scorpio, and so this means that the sun and Ceres are in a semi-sextile aspect. So there's a fair amount to talk about. A couple of things I'm not going to talk about, but I will point out. Oh, this full moon is also actually forming a cardinal grand cross to Pholus. So we'll talk more about that as well. He's the Pandora's box of centaurs. But Eris and the North Node are only 1 minute apart here. They do actually separate a little bit through October before they come back and meet again exactly in November. And the reason they're going to separate is that Eris is going to continue retrograde, but the nodes are going to stay still because October is eclipse month. So I'm not going to talk about that through this, but I do want to say there is a video on my timeline, and I'll link to it in this video, about the Eris North Node conjunction, because that is going to be quite a discordant and disruptive energy, and this full moon is leading into it. The height of it is the first week in October, so you might want to go and watch that video as well. All right, let's stop the share and just talk, because I don't like to just look at the whole screen the whole time. So it's an Aries full moon. And of course, we have an Aries full moon every Libra season. It's kind of weird that we call it an Aries full moon when it's in Libra season, but we do. The sun's in Libra and the moon is in the opposite side of Aries. First of all, Aries and Libra is the me, we axis. Aries is the me, I am. Libra is the we, the us, it's relationships, it's justice. Aries is taking a stand, Libra is justice. So, you know, these two work together. It is an opposition. Now, Aries is the pioneer, it's the warrior, it's the leader. Aries is very direct. Aries likes to say me first at its lowest. But Aries is also just really good at starting things and really, you know, setting off. And it's most associated with the self. The Aries key phrase that most astrologers use is I am. Aries is the sign of the I am. Now, Aries can be hot-tempered and foolhardy and forceful and impulsive, but it's also very independent, very ardent, very active, very adventurous. So, you know, every sign has its shine and shadow, but you get the idea of this passionate full moon. Full moons are pretty heightened and passionate anyway, and a fiery full moon or an Aries full moon is often particularly passionate. But Aries is also very courageous, right? So we've got all of that. We're being pulled to be more of that in this full moon. And then as well, then we have the sun in Libra, and the Libra is about balance. Libra is about adjustment and adaptability, and Libra is also the diplomat, and is very much about communication, compromise, conciliation, congeniality, consideration. and all of those things. But Libra can also be a little bit indecisive, a little bit superficial. Everything's has to look nice for Libra. But Libra really is the sign of relationship and the we. It's where we come together. It's where the courts come together to create justice. It's where we balance the scales of justice, whereas Aries is a warrior and fighting for rights and so on. So that's going to show up probably in, you know, both ways on a full moon. But I like that we have Pallas Athena, the wise owl, the problem solver, creative intelligence asteroid, Pallas Athena, conjunct the sun on this full moon. Pallas Athena is the asteroid of, or the goddess of wise justice. And a lot of astrologers say she's pretty associated with the sign of Libra, also Aquarius, but I can see both. But because of her association with justice and strategy, Pallas Athena is conjunct the sun on this full moon. And I like this T-square to Vesta. Vesta is the sacred flame, the inner flame, the hearth, but it's the hearth of the state. And in Cancer, that's our basis of security. And so I can see that there's even more of a big push for justice and reparations and reconciliation on this full moon, especially if our basis of security is threatened. And that's where Pholus comes in. Pholus in Capricorn. I find this asteroid a very, centaur. He's a centaur, but some call them asteroids. I find Pholus really, really interesting because Pholus is really, you know, he's about turning points, but even more than that, Pholus takes the lid off things. I see Pholus as the Pandora's box, the domino effect. It's like once the lid's off, things just keep appearing. Can start with one small thing, and its consequences also, if you like, consequences of the first thing that's revealed, and then more and more and more and more comes out. For example, as I'm recording this today, I am recording this way, way early because I'm going to the UK for 2 weeks. So I'm actually recording this on September the 8th, so like 3 weeks before. So who knows what will have happened by the time of this full moon. But for example, Pholus has been activated over and over again. And Pholus, today we just had news that Mike Flynn and who else? Oh, Lindsey Graham were recommended to be indicted by the Georgia grand jury, and they haven't been yet at this point. But will they? Maybe they will. I don't know. Maybe by the time you listen to this, they will have been. But, you know, this is a really cardinal grand crosses, which is what this is, even though it's pretty wide, the opposition. Well, it's only 2 degrees between Pholus and Vesta. So, but this is initiating. This is initiating more change. This is saying things are changing. We are beginning a new way of doing things. The Aries moon is taking a stand, standing up for rights. And then the Libra moon with Pallas Athena is bringing justice, and Pholus is revealing more. Of course, Pholus also stationed direct on September the 21st. So just a week before this full moon, Pholus turned direct after being retrograde for some time. So more is perhaps coming out that has been revealed as that lid has been taken off. And I think with the inclusion of of Vesta in Cancer. I think a lot of that has to do with the state, all the states. You know, this could be applied to the UK, to Australia, whatever country you're in. But of course, I live in the US, and we've got a lot going on in those respects. And the US is a Cancerian country. We have a Cancer sun. So with Vesta being in Cancer, you know, I think there's going to be a lot more to come out regarding these things. Now, I did mention as well that Ceres is in Scorpio, the sign of fertility, but the sign of secrets and depth. And Ceres also has this kind of destroyer, kind of justice kind of energy. And Ceres is in Scorpio, which is traditionally Mars ruled. It's a Mars ruled moon, because the moon is in Aries, which is Mars ruled, and it feels like cutting to the truth. Okay, it feels like Ceres is digging into where we have not nourished our truth, and she's saying, let's dig up these secrets. She's been called another benefic by, it was Kelly Lee Phipps, I believe, that called her another benefic. And of course, I'm writing my book on Ceres. So Mars is the ruler of this new moon and of the placement of Ceres. Oh, and it's a quincunx to the moon. Okay, so what my point was, that Ceres is in Scorpio, really kind of digging into the depths of the secrets and the hidden and the murk, to dig it up and make adjustments and say, this is not right, we have to take a stand. And then Mars is also in the sign of justice in Libra, and conjunct Asteroid Lilith, the talk to the hand Lilith, the rebellious teenager, one of the original females. So it feels to me like there's a really big push for people's rights, justice, for taking a stand, for standing up for yourself as well in all your relationships, and finding justice in your relationships, and finding that balance and harmony. And when I say justice, I don't mean legal justice there, I mean fairness. Let's find that fair balance between my rights and your rights, and let's come together as equals. And then we have this triple conjunction of Juno, Venus, and Hecate at 22 Leo, which is just 2 degrees away from the new Venus star point from August the 13th. Such goddess energy. These three were very close together when Venus stationed direct, and here they are at 22 degrees, the master builder number. We've got Venus, the goddess of love and relationships and values, just had her retrograde, not fully out of it yet, where we've been really asked to stand in our radiance, to go back to that sun card, to really find our courage and strength to create what we want, to be who we really are, to lead from the heart. Then we have Juno, who is our sacred contracts asteroid. She was the goddess of marriage, but she was also the goddess of fidelity and women and children. And then Hecate, the triple moon goddess, the goddess of the crossroads, showing us the way. All these three in an almost exact square with rebel Uranus. Old patterns are being broken, ready to build, literally, the master builder number are being created to manifest our dreams. So the master number 22 is about dreams made manifest. It's about ancient wisdom. It's a force of nature. It's about the future, evolution, technology, universal love. It is also, though, about retribution and redemption. But you get the idea. This is a powerful, powerful number. Number 22 is the number of the spiritual master builder on the material plane. 22 synthesizes and expands the power of 11, which is a gateway number. And this is God energy brought to the material plane and brought into form. Because it's such a powerful number, though, the 22 comes with it a great deal of responsibility. With great power comes great responsibility. So the 22 can result in outstanding ascendancy or in disastrous downfall. But really, it symbolizes the principle of precision and balance. And it can achieve, when it really kind of steps into the radical changes that are needed, it can achieve what's hardly imaginable. And I am going to say, you know, one thing I've been noticing with the Venus retrograde and Uranus's station retrograde, I'm coming across a lot of information and news about new developments in green energy, and really new developments that have not been there all along. There's new things happening all the time, and the speed of it is accelerating. And Uranus is radical innovation and invention. So this square at 22 degrees is really powerful. And by the time that Uranus stations direct, which is going to be some time, but by the time Uranus stations direct in January, at the end of January 2024, I predict these inventions will be coming out of our ears and with the potential. But of course, there's always that caution that there's also great responsibility. Are we really thinking through what these new innovations are going to bring? But that's enough about that. But for you at a personal level, I would look back to the Venus star point on August the 13th and around that time and feel what was emerging from you, because that was square to Uranus as well. And this is kind of really bringing that to the fore and saying, what radical changes are you making, and what breakthroughs have you been having, and what are you really creating now? So it's a very, very powerful square. But to look at the number for the full moon itself, 6. 6 connects above and below. 6 is about reconciliation, creativity, intellectual creativity, discrimination, imagination, union, love. And 6 really is about taking responsibility for your choices as well. But interestingly, all right, the number 6 in my favorite, I put the link below. It's the numerology - the numbers and their meanings.blogspot.com. It's in the information below the link to that site. The number 6 is related to the planets Venus and Uranus, who are in that square to each other, that almost exact square. So even though, you know, even though it's a cardinal grand cross, which is a very tense kind of configuration, I do think this has the potential to really push for innovative major change, especially because we're moving into eclipse season in October, which is always a reset time, and we're beginning to feel that eclipse energy coming up. Now, there was one last planet I wanted to talk about, or planetary body, or whatever you want to call her, Black Moon Lilith. Black Moon Lilith has been traveling with Venus for a lot of this retrograde summer for her. And she represents shame and vulnerability coming up. She's that kind of wild self that was shamed and is kind of saying, no more, I'm not living under this kind of shame and self. So she's vulnerable, she's out there, she's going, this is me. She's at 13, Virgo, the number of the goddess, the number of the witch, and the number at which Mercury was Cazimi, the sun, in early October. I'm not going to go back and look at the exact date, but it's an activating that date at that point as Mercury leaves the shadow of the retrograde. The 13 has been coming up again and again and again. And I really think that, for want of a better expression, the divine feminine is rising up in equality with the divine masculine. There's going to be no more me first, the man first, masculine first, the very Aries kind of energy, without the integration with the Libra. So there's justice coming in that respect too. Justice, equality, more balance, more harmony. You're not the boss of me anymore kind of energy. And that's really coming up on this full moon as we speed into this new paradigm. It's quite astounding, all this energy. So look forward to this powerful full moon. And for you personally, because it's an Aries full moon, that really is looking at taking a stand for love, taking a stand for courage, taking a stand for others, for the better of others, not over everybody else. This is about being the healthy energy of cardinal energy, pioneering, taking the lead, showing the way, guiding your light. Okay, and being radiant, showing your radiance. I'm wearing my I Am Radiant t-shirt. Actually, you can just see the flowers, but I'm not going to show the whole t-shirt. I'm not actually I don't actually wear it outside the house in Utah because they don't like profanity. So I'll wear it for you. So let's look at the symbols. They are lovely symbols too. So let's look at the Sabian symbol first. The Sabian symbol, I am actually going to look at Aries 6. I'm not going to go up because this is 6 degrees and 0 minutes. So it's exactly 6. So it just felt right to look at 6. So the Sabian symbol is a square brightly lighted on one side. And this is about the desire to establish oneself as a unique person with particular drive and focus. And James Burgess says the desire to individuate is expressed as single pointedness of focus towards a particular aim. We must convince our fellows that we are not their enemy and find an aspect of who we are that meets with society's requirements of us. And we must convince ourselves that we can find a way authentically to fit in. The regressive pulling back into non-individualization within the vast womb of nature must be resisted. And the force of resistance is our urge to become different. Our sense of differentiation first awakens at the level of family and tribe. Culture operates on the principle of exclusion and one blood, one land, one people. And so we take on conventional behaviors, beliefs, and practices. However, our yearning to be expressive as an individual focuses on a drive to achieve our own special goals and have our own special attitudes to life. So I'm going to perhaps am I going to read? Yes, I am. I'm actually going to read Dane Rogers' interpretation of this 6 Aries as well, because it seems quite important. So again, the symbol is a square with one of its sides brightly illumined, and it's the emotional desire for concrete and stabilized existence as a person. So he says the desire for individualization operates at first as a one-pointed or one-sided drive, focusing itself upon an exclusive goal. That's like the me, 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 me. All emotions are at first possessive, and all cultural manifestations operate on the principle of exclusion. All that does not belong Oh, this is all repeating. Anyway, I think he's saying this is what we'll try first. So on the full moon, you know, we are operating a little bit one-dimensionally with one of its sides brightly illumined, but then we've got to remember the Libra, the opposite point for inner stability. Okay. So anyway, the Chandra symbol. The Chandra symbol for this degree is an aquamarine in a woman's navel. When you come from your center purely and clearly, your own play flows spontaneously forth from you, and there's no need to depend on the agendas and formulas of others. This degree cannot play a limited formulaic part, for it is compelled from within to express from a pure, deep animal instinct. All right, so actually, I think this really means, like, you know, you'll start off really expressing that me, that six, that creative, courageous, loving intent without being codependent on those social mores and rules of others. This does not mean you're going to forget everybody else. This is kind of meaning you're pretty much reborn, which figures because we're coming out of this Venus retrograde renaissance, this rebirth period of what has been such a powerful Venus retrograde. We are being reborn as these, you know, newly courageous, take a stand individuals, but not bowling everybody over. This is really about really shining yourself, your radiance out in the world. It's such a powerful time. And I just know that by the time I get back from my trip, which is just before this full moon, there will be so much have happened by then, but I had to get this out ahead of the time. So I hope you enjoy looking ahead to it. I hope you like the crown, the I Am Radiant crown, the sun. I thought it was really appropriate. Just, you know, shine your light, shine your radiance, be you, take a stand, be courageous, create the things you want to create, and I will see you next time.